What is up, fam? I guess we're doing no video today. Amin changed it up on me, but that's all good. Welcome in to 4th&Goal, where you know the team always comes up clutch. My name is Suneil. I have my co-host over here, Amin, the Dream. Amin, how you doing today, my man?
I'm good. I'm good.
I like it. We got the green in the background, the money green, because we're talking football today, my guy. So basically, this show, we're gearing it more towards football, hence the name 4th&Goal. Amin has picked out some great topics for us to talk about. So let's get to it, Amin. What's topic number one?
Starting off, I got should Justin Fields be the week one starter?
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting conversation because Justin Fields' story, I think, is pretty incredible. Coming out of high school, him and Trevor Lawrence were pretty much 1A and 1B. Most people believed that they were going to be the 1 and 2 quarterbacks drafted out of out of college, and Justin Fields somehow this year's draft just dropped. Right, he was didn't really do anything in college that would take away from his ability to be one of the top quarterbacks drafted 3 went in this draft, and there was nothing really that I felt he did to drop, but somehow he did. And now it has made people start doubting his ability. However, with the Bears, excuse me, who's going to start over him? Like, all they have there is Andy Dalton. It's a lot to do with what I'm seeing with the 49ers as well. You picked your quarterback of the future. You obviously traded assets to move up to get him if you're the Bears. You've already whiffed on your last quarterback of the future. So I think you got to have Justin Fields play. He gives you an aspect to the game with his mobility that Andy Dalton doesn't. Andy Dalton, we've seen what he's capable of. He's not a bad quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he's better in a starting role now than a player that's going to take you deep into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. And it's not like the Bears are like a rebuilding team. They still have really good pieces. They have a really solid defense. They obviously have a really good receiver and some solid running backs. So I think, Justin Fields gives you the best chance to win. I think that, these days, rookie quarterbacks are coming in and picking up the offense a lot quicker than in past years. So, we've seen so many good stories with rookie quarterbacks, most notably last year, Justin Herbert. And I think Justin Fields and Herbert have, similar type games, are in similar type situations where they dropped a little bit further than probably what they expected to. And Justin Fields has nothing but motivation to go out and show that he is the best quarterback in this year's draft, which I wholeheartedly believe he believes. And so you got to go Fields for me. What about you?
I definitely agree with you. Fields should be the starter week one. I mean, Andy Dalton is just not going to get it done. Especially considering that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, both their jobs are on the line. I mean, and I think Justin Fields gives you a better chance. He's mobile. He in training camp, he's even dominating in training camp, and he's mobile. And mobile quarterbacks do well their first year. And I mean, the Bears aren't a bad team. They have a lot of pieces: Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith. They have Allen Robinson. They drafted Tevin Jenkins on that offensive line to have that offensive line. That's not a rebuilding team. That's a pretty darn good team. And if I'm Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, my jobs are on the line. So I want to start the quarterback that gives me the best chance to win. And I think Justin Fields gives me the best chance to win. Me personally, I'm really not that high on Justin Fields. I mean, obviously, Ohio State quarterbacks, we've seen that they really can't do well in the NFL. And I know I'm not supposed to base Justin Fields off other Ohio State quarterbacks, but let's look at Northwestern game. Really, he didn't do well against Northwestern, and the other game I'm forgetting what game that he also did bad against, and obviously the Clemson game. Yes, the Clemson game he did do well. He got hit in the rib cage. He came back, but in the NFL, I mean, you could run fast. You could have people had he ran the 440, And I mean, people were hyped about Justin Fields. I mean, can Justin Fields make the accurate throw when there's pressure in his face, right? Can he do those certain types of things where in college he had that offensive line? And I mean, I saw Justin Fields. He would stand in the pocket and he would rip the ball and he would find an open receiver in the end zone or something like that, right? He wasn't, and when he got pressure in his face, he would make those bad decisions where he would throw the interceptions or he would fumble the football. He would make just bad decisions when there was pressure in his face, where when he had the time, he could do wonders, right? But any quarterback would wonder if they have a good offensive line, can do pretty darn good. If you don't have that good offensive line, which the Bears really don't have the best offensive line, I mean, how well can Justin Fields do? But Justin Fields obviously gives you the better chance than Andy Dalton because he is mobile. So I'm taking Justin Fields over Andy Dalton. But me personally, I'm really not that high on Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is gonna do pretty well. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, so there's obviously gonna be growing pains, but and it's not like he's a perfect quarterback either. But you don't have as much talent as he has and just be a dud. You know, for all of those things that you named, you could bring that up about any quarterback in this year's draft. As far as even Trevor Lawrence, he didn't have that. He didn't have that much pressure in his face, and he's had bad games as well. Zach Wilson, you could talk about the same thing with him. Trey Lance, everybody has flaws. It's just for some reason everybody wanted to go at Justin Fields. I'm not sure why, but I think he has the right type of mentality, the right type of work ethic, and obviously now nothing but motivation to go out there and do well. I think he's in a great situation on a team that is pretty decent. So I believe that he will be probably the second best quarterback out of this year's draft this year, behind Trey Lance, just because of the situation that he's in. Trey Lance is obviously in the best situation with the 49ers. I think Justin Fields is in the second best situation. And guys like Trevor Lawrence really doesn't have much talent around him at this point. And Zach Wilson obviously is on a team that's trying to put pieces around him right now. So I believe that Justin Fields is going to be the second best quarterback this year out of the rookies, and he's going to make you look stupid. I mean, that's what he's going to do.
I don't know. I mean, let's look at Ohio State's quarterbacks: Troy Smith, Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, you could say
that about any quarterback. You could say that about any. What's the college that puts out all of these great quarterbacks?
Okay, Ohio State is definitely not one of them. Okay,
but what is the school that does? Does USC? Does Florida State? Does University of Miami? Does Alabama?
I never said, Suneil.
Does LSU? Like what's the college?
I never said, Suneil, that one certain college gives you amazing NFL talent. I never said that it gives you an amazing NFL quarterback. But Ohio State is one of the worst at it. I mean, Troy Smith, Heisman winner. He sucked in the NFL. Dwayne Haskins didn't have the work ethic, and he was bad. Okay, you look at, and I get that he was a Washington football team that was in rebuilding mode, kinda, but he still wasn't a good quarterback. You look at Justin Fields, I mean, the Bears ruin quarterbacks. And the fact that you think he's going to prove me wrong, he does have all the intangibles, and he does have the skills to prove me wrong, but he's playing for the Bears, right? If he was playing for the Niners, this would be a completely different story here, because he's going to a team that has offensive line, that has pieces, right? The Bears really don't have that great of an offensive line. Outside of Allen Robinson, you have no talent at receiver. Obviously, they do have a pretty darn good read defense. But how well can Justin Fields make those throws when there's pressure in his face? And we've seen, if you look at his college tape, he's not a bad quarterback, but when there's pressure in his face or there's pressure coming from the defensive line, he struggles. And I mean, Brady obviously can do it. You look at Brees, he could do it. You look at even Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is a generational talent, but he could also make throws. If there's pressure in his face, he can make those throws. He even, God's sakes, can make no-look passes, right? And I get it's Mahomes, but there's many quarterbacks in the league that if there's pressure in his face, they can make quarterbacks, right? They can make plays, and they're accurate in that sense. Where Justin Fields, if there's pressure in his face, he makes bad decisions. He'll throw interceptions instead of throwing the ball out of bounds. He'll fumble the football, right? So Justin Fields makes those bad decision making, has bad decision making when there's pressure in his face, and what doesn't help is he's playing for the Bears. The Bears ruin quarterbacks.
I like how you just compared Justin Fields to situated quarterbacks, the best quarterbacks in the game right now. He's a rookie quarterback. Of course, he's not going to be as good as Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and all of these guys, like you said. But I'm saying, like, the one, I think the most tired argument is look at the college he came out of. That's why he's going to be bad. Well, before Aaron Rodgers came out of Berkeley, who was the great quarterback that came out of Berkeley that did wonders? Before Tom Brady came out of Michigan, who were the great quarterbacks for Michigan that came out? But you saying that Ohio State does bad with quarterbacks. I'm saying that every school has a great list of quarterbacks that came out of those schools that didn't do well. Why? Because there's only 32 jobs in the NFL, and there's thousands of colleges in the United States. So to say that Ohio State only puts out bad quarterbacks, you could say that about Alabama. You could say that about LSU. You could say that about Michigan. You could say that about Stanford. You could say that about USC. You could say that about Miami. But at the end of the day, only some of these quarterbacks are going to come out and actually be good no matter what school they come out of.
We can say that about
I look at Justin
school, right?
Fields. I look at Justin Fields and I say he is a great leader. I think he's a better quarterback than Dwayne Haskins and Pryor, like you mentioned. I think there are going to be things that he needs to work on in the league, but he's a big guy. He's mobile. He's accurate with his arm. He had over 70% accuracy in college. Plays injured. All of these things that could make him a solid quarterback in the NFL. And I think that he's on a team that has a lot more talent than you're giving him credit for. Obviously, they have Allen Robinson. They have a tight end that looks promising in Kmet. They have Mooney over there that is a good, second option as far as a receiver. And they have two good running backs in Montgomery and Cohen that are going to help with that running game. And not to mention, a really solid defense. So for me, they have all the pieces for Justin Fields to do well. And yeah, I mean, I think that Justin Fields is going to turn around the reputation of Ohio State and the Bears. Like I said, I think he's going to be the second best quarterback out of this rookie class this year.
Suneil. So didn't Mitch Trubisky have basically all you mentioned? He had that to work with last year. So why couldn't Mitch Trubisky get it done? And why do you think Justin Fields can get it done?
Because I think Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. He's more accurate than Mitch Trubisky was. Mitch Trubisky wasn't a 70% thrower in college. He's won more big games than Mitch Trubisky did in college. He's played against better talent.
North Carolina, what do you expect? He didn't play for like Clemson or Alabama.
I mean, you're asking me a question about why I think Justin Fields is better than Mitch Trubisky. He's played better talent. He had a better completion percentage. He's more mobile, and I think that he's going to be better for all of those reasons.
Well, we will see at the end of the season. You could claim me on this. I'm so confident that Justin Fields won't be good this year. Just this year, okay? And I don't even think he's gonna be a successful NFL quarterback, but that we will see. But just this year, at the end of the season, we will see who is right. Are you gonna be right if Justin Fields is this superstar that's gonna turn around the Bears, or am I right? Justin Fields is not my favorite quarterback, and he is not gonna be as good as you say he is. We will see at the end of the season.
We shall see.
Moving on to the next topic, is Michael Thomas asked for a trade. He's not happy with the New Orleans Saints. He's been rejecting their calls, and he came off foot surgery in June, so he's not even going to be ready for the start of the season. He's on the PUP list. So, a couple of the questions that I have asked for you is, number one, do you think they will trade Michael Thomas? Do you think they should trade? Do you think they should trade Michael Thomas? And if they do trade Michael Thomas, where do you think he has a possibility of ending up?
Yeah, so I mean, this relationship with the Saints and Michael Thomas has been shaky for a few years now. Even last year, there was rumbles of him asking for a trade. I think that he really was just staying with Drew Brees because him and his relationship with Drew Brees is good. But yeah, I mean, I think it's gotten to a point where it just isn't going to be successful with Michael Thomas in with the New Orleans Saints. I think they should trade him because I think he's in the last year of his deal. So he probably isn't going to be re-signed or want to come back. So the Saints, instead of just having him walk for nothing, at least get some assets for him and bring him, bring in, some picks that you could get from Michael Thomas. As far as where he should go, I think that, teams that are in need of a great, receiver, I think the Bears would be a great option for him, to put in Allen Robinson's in the same similar situation where he might walk next season without without any assets. So that would be probably a good place that he could go. Another place might be Miami. They could use another receiver alongside, Devontae, and also they picked up in the draft this year. They got Waddle.
And
Yeah, but they had I think his name is Devontae, the guy that was already on the team. Yeah. So there's teams that I think could use him for sure. So yeah, I think that he should get traded. I think he's ran his course with the Saints. Obviously, he doesn't trust the team. The team doesn't trust him. Even the coaches said some negative things about him having surgery instead of having it earlier in the offseason. So yeah, man, I think he could go, and I think that people would want to trade for him, even though you're not going to get a full season out of him, obviously, because of the injury.
Yep, I definitely think that they will trade him. Do I think they should trade him? No, because obviously he's Michael Thomas. Since before last year, he's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons, and Michael Thomas was, before his injury, he was one of the best top 10 easily in the league before his injury last year to do it, and in the last couple of seasons. So obviously, if I'm the Saints, I don't really want to trade Michael Thomas. But do I have to trade Michael Thomas because he's not happy there? Yes, I do think I have to trade Michael Thomas. And some of the teams that I do think should trade for Michael Thomas, one team that I definitely think should trade for Michael Thomas, besides the ones that you mentioned, is Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is a young quarterback. Bring him a weapon like Michael Thomas, who's an amazing wide receiver. Bring him a guy like Michael Thomas to help him out because he is also a rookie quarterback. You bring him help. And I mean, Laviska Shenault, he's okay, but he's not reliable. He's injured. Who the other receivers that they have? I can't remember their names, but I know they have some other guys on that team. But most of the guys that they have on their team are not.
Huh? DJ Moore, I think, is on. I think DJ Chark.
DJ Chark. I mean, DJ Chark is okay, but he's also really not that reliable. He missed most of last year.
So and Michael Thomas has that Ohio State bond with the coach over there now too. So that's another.
Urban Meyer, right? So why don't you bring in a guy like Michael Thomas, help that young rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence? And I mean, I think Michael Thomas would love to play in Jacksonville. I mean, play with a young quarterback like Trevor Lawrence who has a lot of promise. I think he would love to play in Jacksonville, and I definitely think Jacksonville definitely has the pieces to trade for the assets to trade for Michael Thomas. I definitely think they should trade for Michael Thomas if I were the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, and they have the cap space to be able to sign him to a deal too, which is something that he's looking for, obviously, as well. So that is a good place for him to fall.
Yeah. Well, now we're going back to the NFC North. We talked about the Bears, who are in the NFC North. So the question I asked you here, Suneil, is which team has the best chance to dethrone the Packers in the NFC North?
Yeah, I'm going to go with D, none of the above, because I really don't think that any team in the NFC North is going to dethrone the Packers. I think the Packers are, head and shoulders above the rest of that division because they have the least amount of question marks. Obviously Minnesota has a potent offense, but Justin Jefferson has the shoulder injury. We don't know how he's going to play this season with that injury. The Bears, even though they have a solid defense, they might start a rookie quarterback. So, we don't know how well he's going to play. And then Detroit is Detroit. They're a few years away from being able to really compete, I believe, just with, the the team that they have right there. So if I had to, pick a team, I would probably say the Bears, just because they have a really good defense to somewhat, contend with that potent offense that Green Bay has. But I don't think it's going to be that close. I think the Green Bay Packers come out of the NFC North just because Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers both have something to prove this season. So I expect that offense to be clicking on all cylinders and be
The
really
last
good.
dance.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Green Bay runs away with it.
Yep. Now, obviously, I also think Green Bay is definitely head and shoulders above all the other teams in the NFC North. But if I had to choose a team, I gotta say the Vikings. I mean, obviously Justin Fields is a rookie, so obviously it's gonna take him a time to develop. But I'm gonna say the Vikings. Obviously, they have a stellar offense: Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Kirk Cousins. He doesn't get the props that he deserves, in my opinion. Kirk Cousins last year had 35 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Now, obviously, the record doesn't say that, and obviously, he's not the best in primetime games. But if you just look at his straight up stats, he's not a bust, or he's not this bad quarterback who's a scrub. He's a pretty darn good quarterback. He put up similar, if not better, numbers than Deshaun Watson last year, right? Obviously, he had way better teammates and weapons than Deshaun Watson had last year. But he still put up pretty darn good numbers. And I mean, Danielle Hunter's coming back next year for the Vikings. And Danielle Hunter is a guy who had 14 sacks in 2019 and 14 sacks in 2020. And 2021 he sat out, right? So I think with all of that, I think the team that has the best chance to dethrone the Packers, I would say the Vikings over the Bears, and obviously the Lions. I mean, the Lions. I've said it before. The Lions, the only thing that they're going to be doing this year is biting kneecaps. I mean, I really don't see anything the Detroit Lions is doing anything. Hiring Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions aren't in the best direction in my opinion. Obviously, Sewell, that's a good thing to draft, but that's a good player to draft. But the Lions are the Lions at the end of the day. So I'm gonna go with the Vikings, but I definitely think the Packers are head and shoulders above everybody else in NFC North. But if I had to choose one team specifically, I'm saying the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings are good, but they're obviously super dependent on their running back. And if Cook goes down with any injuries, I really don't think that team is going to be able to recover. So so that's why the Vikings for me are kind of hit or miss. They already have their best wide receiver injured, and obviously they run their running back hard from a lot of times. So we'll see. I mean, he's coming up. He's been in the league for some time now, so this is usually around the time when these often used running backs tend to break down. So we'll see.
Well, the thing about the Vikings is that yes, Dalvin Cook he does get injured because they use him a lot, but last year the Vikings beat the Packers in Lambeau, right? And the Bears with that defense couldn't beat Aaron Rodgers both the games that they played Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers lit the Bears up last year in both games, right? Where on the other hand, you look at the Vikings, and the Vikings, the first game that they played the Packers, they got blown out like 27-10 if I remember correctly. But in the second game, Dalvin Cook, he obviously was the main part of that offense, but they beat the Packers without Danielle Hunter. So I'm gonna say the Vikings. And the only reason I'm not choosing the Bears is obviously you have Justin Fields as a rookie quarterback. I mean, I really don't see a rookie quarterback dethroning Aaron Rodgers. I don't even see the Vikings dethroning Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But the team that has the best chance, in my opinion, is the Vikings because you have a quarterback, you have an amazing running back, you have Justin Jefferson. He shouldn't be out for more than maybe a couple of weeks. I think he'll be healthy, maybe if not week 1 or week 2 of the regular season. Adam Thielen, you have that offensive line. You added Christian Darrisaw, Wyatt Davis. You drafted in the later rounds, who's a steal for the Vikings, and you had Danielle Hunter's coming back next year. So with all those factors, I gotta say the team that has the best chance is the Vikings over the Bears personally because the Bears have a rookie quarterback, and I really don't see. I have more faith in the Vikings, and I think the Vikings have a better chance than Justin Fields and the rookie and the Bears because Justin Fields obviously is a rookie. So I'm saying the Vikings.
Cool.
Well, moving on to the next topic is will Dak Prescott lead the Cowboys to the first NFC East title since 2018?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say no. And the only reason why I think so is because I think that the Washington football team just is a little bit more well-rounded than the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys, I think, offense is going to be really potent this season. They have, two stud wide receivers. They have the stud running back. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is an upgrade on the quarterback play that they had last season. He's going to stay healthy the whole season. Terry McLaughlin is, great. They have
Terry McLaurin.
McLaurin, sorry. Terry
I was like,
McLaughlin is the
who?
singer. Terry McLaurin is obviously a really good receiver. They have Logan Thomas, who I think is a stud tight end. They have two really solid running backs in the backfield, and they have one of the best defensive lines in the game. I think that the coach over there is going to have these guys ready to play, and so the NFC East is one of the weaker divisions in the league. I don't think the Giants are going to do much. I think the Eagles are going to not be that great. They're working out some issues over there with their quarterback play as well. I think it's going to be dependent, right? Deshaun Watson is in talks to being traded to the Eagles. Obviously, I think that changes things if he does play this season and he's on the Eagles. I think maybe that would obviously change my mind. But right now, I think it's going to be the Washington football team, and Dak's going to come up short.
Now, if I look at the NFC East, Eagles, I mean, they're a rebuilding team. You have a rookie head coach. You have a quarterback who's starting his first year, full year starting, Jalen Hurts. So I really don't see the Eagles winning the division. I look at the Giants, and I mean, they have an amazing defense, and I love Joe Judge, but I don't know how well Daniel Jones will perform. So the Giants are already out for me. And then I look at the Washington football team. The Washington football team have an amazing defensive line. If not the best defensive line in football, they have an amazing defense in general. They added Curtis Samuel, who was roommates with Terry McLaurin in college at Ohio State. Terry McLaurin's a stud. Curtis Samuel's also a stud. But the reason I think Dak Prescott will lead the Cowboys to their first NFC East title since 2018 is because I know what Dak can do. I don't know what Ryan Fitzpatrick will do as a full year starter. I don't know what Ryan Fitzpatrick will do. I don't know how well he'll perform. And we've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick when he had full 17 games, full 17 game year. I mean, he hasn't done good. He has been on multiple teams throughout his career. Patriots, Bills, Jets, even the Dolphins. He's been on multiple teams and throughout his career. He's a journeyman, and I know what I can get out of Dak, and I don't know how well Ryan Fitzpatrick will perform. And that's the reason I'm saying the Cowboys is because just that quarterback, right? And I get that the defense is the weakness, the Cowboys' weakness. But last time Dan Quinn was a defensive coordinator was with the Legion of Boom. And Dan Quinn is a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. And yes, that defense will struggle at times. But with a Dak fully healthy, with Ezekiel Elliott fully healthy, with Zach Martin and Zach Martin, who's the other offensive lineman that they have? Tyron Smith, right? Tyron Smith, with Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb, with Michael Gallup, with that Micah Parsons, Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Lane Van Der Esch. With that team is stacked. But the reason I'm taking the Cowboys over the Washington football team is because they have a quarterback. Where Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's not your long-term starter. And Taylor Heineke, yeah, he did good in the wild card game against the Bucks, but he also could be a one-game wonder, right? He could have that one game that he played good in that NFC wild card game, but then this year he couldn't. This year they might put him in because Ryan Fitzpatrick is struggling, and he could also be terrible, right? So I'm taking the Cowboys only because I know what I'm getting out of Dak, where I don't know how well Ryan Fitzpatrick will perform. So I'm taking the Cowboys.
I mean, I don't know how Dak is going to be off of this ankle injury, right? So how mobile is he going to be? Is he going to have that same speed that he had? Because obviously his mobility is something that he depended on. And that team hasn't really changed, right? And I think that
So adding Dan Quinn, getting your starting offensive lineman healthy, getting
yeah, but it's the
Zeke.
same offensive line that was there 2 years ago. You know, it's not like they
Yeah,
added
two
any
years
big
ago they made the
pieces.
playoffs with a
Right, but
healthy team.
what I'm saying is this: they're 2 years older as well. This offensive line already looked pretty old a couple years ago. They haven't really done anything to make it younger. Um, it's not like they added that many weapons on offense. I think CeeDee Lamb is obviously going to be a stud.
You don't need
Dak,
to add weapons if you're the Cowboys. You
Dak,
have CD. You have
Dak to
Gallup,
me,
Cooper.
my dude, you gotta let me talk, bro.
Okay, my bad.
So Dak to me is one of those quarterbacks that plays well when he gets all of his yards in meaningless like games where they've already been blown out, games where they are they lose. Like his best numbers games, they're not even winning those games. So to me, like Dak is a great leader and he's a better quarterback than anything that they had last season. But I still don't think the Cowboys are a complete team. You know, they always underperform. They're pretty much an 8-8 team, no matter if Dak is there or Dak isn't there. And I just think that the Washington football team is more consistent. I think they have better coaching there. And, I think Fitzpatrick, he's going to be an upgrade as far as what the football team had last season. And they won the division last season. So, to me, that they're just going to be better than the Cowboys. But we'll see. I mean, it's definitely going to be between those two teams.
You're taking out a key factor. They won the division without Dak Prescott being the Cowboys.
Sure.
Right?
But they also upgraded at their quarterback play.
I 100% agree with your point that, yes, they might have better coaching, but you seriously I have more faith in a one-legged Dak than I have faith in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, if Ryan Fitzpatrick was a good quarterback, then he would be on that one team and he would be a long-term starter. Ryan Fitzpatrick has bounced around multiple teams in his career. If he was a salvageable starter, then yeah, obviously a team would keep him around, but he's not a salvageable starter. He's just not. He's a good backup quarterback. If your main starting quarterback gets injured, but is he a franchise starting quarterback? No. He's also old, just like that offensive line. Just like you said, that offensive line is getting older. He's also getting older. He's 30, 35, 35 plus years old. So with all those factors, I agree with you. The Cowboys roster hasn't gotten better, but do you seriously have that much faith in Ryan Fitzpatrick where you think they're gonna beat the Cowboys? And I mean,
yes.
The Cowboys, they have been struggling even with Dak under center the last couple of years. But I mean, the Cowboys still have a quarterback where I don't know how well Ryan Fitzpatrick will perform, but they still have pretty darn good pieces in Dallas. And the offensive line is coming back, like I said, and you have stacked receivers and a pretty darn good defense. And Dan Quinn, if you say they didn't add much, they drafted Micah Parsons. They added Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator. I mean, they didn't bring any big free agents move. They didn't bring any free agents.
They got Patrick Surtain there too. Patrick Surtain, I think, is going to be good too. The cornerback that they drafted.
He went to Denver.
Patrick Surtain went to Denver? I thought they got a cornerback. I forget the cornerback that they got.
I forgot too, but I know Patrick Surtain went to Denver, and they drafted Micah Parsons. But
yeah, I thought they got another corner. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
With all those factors keyed in, I just don't see them beating the Cowboys in the division because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's an inconsistent quarterback who cannot be your franchise starter. And he's exactly just as old as the offensive line. Just how you mentioned, he's exactly as old. And you can't put all the pressure on that defense, right? If you expect them to win games by putting all the pressure on the defense, like, you're not going to be able to win games if you can't score the football. And obviously they do have some pieces, but I just don't know how well Ryan Fitzpatrick will play. He is an inconsistent quarterback, and he is not the answer at quarterback. If I was watching the football team, he's not a long-term starter. So obviously I'm taking the Cowboys over the Redskins.
Yeah, but I don't think, first of all, it's the football team, but I don't think that anybody's thinking Ryan Fitzpatrick is the long-term solution for Washington. But if he started all the games for Miami, they were 5-1 in a much tougher division before they made the switch to Tua, and they had to make the switch to Tua because they had, he was their franchise quarterback, and even then, Fitzpatrick was outplaying Tua, which is why they had him come in the fourth quarters and be like the closer or whatnot. But those Miami teams, he was winning multiple games with them for the 2 years that he was there with them. And I don't think they had as much talent as the Washington football team did. And he was definitely playing in a way tougher division than the Washington football team are. So I think that he's going to be, just fine for them. I'm not saying he's, the greatest quarterback or a top 10 quarterback or anything like that, but I don't think he needs to be for the team that he has around him. They just need somebody that's going to be able to move the ball downfield, which he could do. Make sure they minimize turnovers, which he could do, and they're gonna run the ball a lot. He has good receivers to throw to, and then they're gonna lean on their defense to carry that team, which a lot of teams do. So I think they're just built to be able to make it to the playoffs. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but I think they come out of the NFC East.
Well, you brought up what he did last year. You're basing it off of 1 year, like
2 years. Even the year before that, when he was the full starter in Miami, they were right up until
the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs.
Okay, but you're talking about a much more difficult division, and he was right in the thick of things. So they barely missed the playoffs the 2 years that he was with Miami in a much tougher division, in a much tougher AFC than what he has to do in the NFC East. So what I'm saying is he was competitive. So I think, moving him into a much weaker division, he's going to be fine. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, he will be fine, but we're talking about who will win the division, right? And obviously,
yeah, I don't think the Cowboys are that good, my dude. You keep acting like there's some great team.
I'm not saying the Cowboys are playoff.
Yeah, so they only have to be better than the Cowboys.
The question that I asked is, who will the Dak Prescott lead the Cowboys with their first NFC East title since 2018?
I say no.
Basically, in short terms, will mean, will the Cowboys win the division? Like I said, they will win the division because Ryan Fitzpatrick is an inconsistent quarterback. He's old. And you're bringing up those Miami days. You're bringing up those Miami days. I mean,
that was last season, bro. We're talking about 2 years ago. We're talking about the last 2 seasons. Of course, I'm bringing that up.
He was 4-12 the first year he went to Miami, and after that, when he got pieces and Brian Flores started building around there, then he started to have a pretty darn good season. And I get that it's a tougher division. What do you do in Tampa? What do you do with the Jets? What do you do with the Bills? So you're gonna push beside all those other teams that he was with, and you're gonna bring up the situation when he was with the Dolphins. The first year he was mediocre, 4-12, and the one specific year you're gonna bring up and you're gonna say, "Hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a salvageable quarterback." Like, no, I'm not saying he's a starter either, and I know you're not saying that either. But Ryan Fitzpatrick is an old quarterback who has bounced around multiple teams, who has been in the league for multiple years. And you think he's gonna be the Dallas Cowboys team to win a division? That defense is stacked, but you're not. If you can't score points, how are you gonna win football games? I'm not saying Ryan Fitzpatrick's a scrub, but if you look at that Dallas Cowboys offense has weapons everywhere. You look at that team. I mean, outside of Brandon Scherf, that offensive line isn't really that good. He has weapons, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is an old quarterback who's bounced around multiple teams in the league. Who I just don't see him winning the division. I get the defense is good, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is an old quarterback. He is not a starting quarterback for any team in the league, a long-term starting quarterback. And I get that you're not saying that, but if you expect him to beat the Cowboys, the one thing that the Cowboys have that no other team in the division has is the Cowboys have a proven quarterback who they can win games with. Where Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you look at most of his career, he's been mediocre and just can't win football games.
Yeah, but I don't think Dak. I think Dak is the same way. Dak's win-loss record isn't crazy either. So they're both pretty much 500 quarterbacks. So at the end of the day, it's who has the better team around them.
Who had the longer career?
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, obviously, like Dak. Dak has played in like 4 years. I remember in 2017 he comes in. The Cowboys were on fire. The Cowboys were the hottest team in that year. And I mean, I don't want to go too much back in the past, but I mean, I personally think Dak Prescott will lead the Cowboys to the first NFC East title since 2018. We have disagreements. We might disagree on things, but it was fun debating this one with you. We kind of went a long time with this one. But moving on to some training camp stuff. Zach Wilson has been struggling in training camp, in the Jets training camp. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. It's a big step up in talent for him. Obviously, he had the holdout, so he got into training camp a little bit later than some of these other quarterbacks. I mean, I think that obviously Zach Wilson was kind of like a one-year wonder as far as he just came out of nowhere this last season, and so there was question marks about him, whether or not it was a fluke or whether or not he's the real deal. I think rookie quarterbacks struggling in training camp isn't a big deal. They're going to struggle. There's not. I mean, it's just about what kind of pressure that the team puts on him. Obviously, the Jets traded away another top quarterback pick for him to kind of clear the way for him to be the starter. I think. A lot of great quarterbacks struggle their first year, so I don't read too much into it. But I mean, it's obviously not good optics, especially the way that he's come in with a lot of the drama that's around him. And he's in the New York media kind of area, so that obviously is a big deal because he's going to constantly get a lot of press. So we'll see. It's just training camp. We'll see what happens when it comes to actual preseason games and the season. He obviously doesn't have any competition behind him for the starting position, so he just is going to get an opportunity, and hopefully he has the right mindset to be able to work hard every single day. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of just rookie struggles.
Yep, it is rookie struggles. I mean, Zach Wilson has been struggling in training camp, and as a rookie, you're going to have those bumps in the road because you're obviously a rookie quarterback, and college game and the NFL game is completely different. But he's struggling in training camp, and the only reason that's concerning to me is because I was watching Colin Cowherd the other day, and one reason I feel like the Jets fans don't like Colin Cowherd is he brought up a point before the draft. Zach Wilson has amazing arm strength, can make flashy plays, and he's a playmaker. But another thing about Zach Wilson is that Zach Wilson is 0-5 against teams that are top 10 or top 20 in college football. Let's look at 2019 Utah. He struggled. Even this year, Coastal Carolina this year, that was a top 15 team. He struggled. I mean, he does not do well against good competition. He was 0-5 in all the games that he played against teams that are top over 500 that are good teams. He is 1 for 7. One touchdown. He threw one touchdown and 7 interceptions against good college teams. What's gonna happen when he gets to the NFL? I mean, what's gonna happen when he plays in a regular season game and he's a starting quarterback? And let's say he goes up against the Bills. He's gonna have to play them 2 times a year. He goes up against the Dolphins. He's gonna struggle because he couldn't do it in college. He couldn't beat good teams in college. How do you expect him to do that in the NFL, which is a way higher level than college? But if we're just going back to the training camp thing, it just bumps in the road for a rookie. Zach Wilson has all the talent and potential, but there are some things that concern me about Zach Wilson that I've mentioned. But if I'm just basing it off how he struggled in training camp the last couple of days, like you said, it's just rookie bumps and just things that happen when you're a rookie. You struggle a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he is going to obviously, in college, he played against lesser talent. When he moved up in talent against teams that were better, he struggled, but he also didn't have the same type of talent around him as those ranked teams, right? So at least in the NFL, he has NFL players around him, NFL talent around him. He has some decent receivers. I think they drafted Elijah Mitchell, who's I think is going to be a stud in the NFL. They obviously have Corey Davis, who had a really great season last season. So at least at least talent wise, they're going to be somewhat competitive. I don't necessarily think he's going to have like this breakthrough season this year, but he'll have some wow moments, and hopefully he could keep his confidence up, because obviously that's what really hurt Sam Darnold over there, was he kind of lost his confidence. So as long as he could keep his confidence high, he'll be fine. I believe in the coaching staff over there, and Salah, and the O coordinator that they brought from the 49ers as well. So they're going to be a run first team. And hopefully, I hope he does well, because obviously we want to see people do well.
Yeah. Well, we got some breaking news. Not really breaking all around NFL stuff. But the 49ers did reveal their unofficial depth chart. And Ayuk was listed as the starting punt returner.
Nice.
So Grant's wish did come true, because he wanted Ayuk to return punts. So just wanted to throw that out there, that Grant's wish did come true. It is unofficial as of right now, but it is a good sign. But the next topic that I have is Ja'Marr Chase is struggling in training camp. But obviously, we know Ja'Marr Chase got drafted over Penei Sewell, just to mean that LSU connection. And so is Joe Burrow struggling in training camp. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, with Chase, obviously he opted out of his last year in football. So this is kind of his first real football in over a year. So there's going to be issues. Obviously, you didn't play all last year, and then you jumped up in as far as talent. I think the thing that is concerning is it seems like he's not creating separation. And I don't know. I don't know if that is something that's something definitely that is a question mark, right? So if you can't separate as a receiver, that's going to be extremely tough for you to be successful, especially with that offensive line that they have there. I don't think Burrow's going to have a lot of time to throw. So the receivers over there are going to have to, separate and do their job to get open, so that because Burrow's going to have to release the ball really quick, not only because the offensive line is bad, but because he's coming off of a really gruesome injury. The one thing that he has in his favor is I don't think Ja'Marr Chase is going to be considered the wide receiver one. I think Boyd is going to be wide receiver one out there, and he seems to be doing really well this offseason. So at least Ja'Marr Chase probably won't be going up against the best corners because they're going to have him, guard Boyd. So hopefully he can, just work his way into eventually becoming wide receiver one over there with the Bengals. But, it is obviously there's going to be that big question mark because they had the opportunity to pick Sewell. Yep. They went after Chase. And if he doesn't pan out, that's always going to be something that's looked upon, especially because you have that franchise quarterback there that they know is good. You could have protected him. Instead, you gave him a weapon. And if that weapon doesn't turn out to be a weapon, now all of a sudden it's like, wow, we made a big mistake.
Yeah. I mean, it is concerning. I mean, if you can't get separation in practice, how do you expect to do that in a real life game situation against better corners, against like starters in the league? And I mean, it's kind of concerning to me. But one thing that if Ja'Marr Chase isn't a successful quarterback, his whole even after he retires, and even at the end of his career, Bengals fans are gonna be like, we had the chance to draft Penei Sewell, who's a generational offensive lineman, and we decided to go after Ja'Marr Chase, right? So obviously, as a Bengals fan, if that happened, that would be really sad. But it is only training camp, so I'm not gonna be so down on Ja'Marr Chase. But it is a little bit concerning that he can't get separation, because as a receiver, you have to be able to get separation. But you brought up Tyler Boyd, and Tyler Boyd, in my opinion, is an amazing receiver if he can stay on the field. He just can't stay on the field, and that's his problem. But when he plays, he's a good receiver, in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on that Chase topic. Well, I did have some other topics, but we're already like 15 minutes in, and I think I might save those for the next 4th and Goal next Tuesday.
Nice.
But well, if you haven't already, subscribe to Suneil on YouTube. The link is in the description. His Twitter is also in the description. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel or followed him on Twitter, go do that. You won't regret it. Just go do that. He posts amazing content. Does like 6 to 7 streams a week. So you definitely want to check his channel out. That basically wraps up our show. Please don't forget to like the video, hit the subscribe button down below, and I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you. This show will be back next Tuesday with me and Suneil, 4th and Goal at 7 o'clock. So you don't want to miss it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.